Have you ever scrolled through YouTube at like 2 a.m. and come across some super weird CCTV footage? Like you close the video, you try go to sleep, but you can still see it playing in your head. Yeah, that's what we're diving into today. Security cameras are everywhere, guys. They're watching us at the mall, at work, on the street, and sometimes they capture things nobody should see. Things that raise more questions than answers. Things that are straight up creepy. So today we're going down the most disturbing CCTV footage iceberg, starting with the cases everyone knows about and diving into footage so obscure and unsettling that you've probably never heard of them. And look, before we get into this, some of these cases involve real people who lost their lives or disappeared under horrific circumstances. So I just want to say up front that my heart goes out to all the people and their families. This is all for educational purposes, to document these cases and hopefully keep their stories alive. Alright, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to go deep. And with that, let's get into it. Level 1. Elisa Lam elevator footage. So starting off at the surface level, we have probably one of the most famous pieces of CCTV footage on the entire internet, the Elisa Lam elevator footage from 2013. If you've been online at all in the past decade, you've probably seen this one. It's been dissected by literally millions of people. There is a whole Netflix documentary about it, and it's become like the poster child for creepy surveillance footage. Here's what happened. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Now, if you know anything about the Cecil Hotel, you know it's got a pretty dark history. It's where serial killers have stayed, where people have died under mysterious circumstances, and it's just generally known as one of the most haunted hotels in America. But that's a whole other iceberg for another day. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa was reported missing. Then the LAPD released this elevator footage from the hotel, hoping someone might recognize her or have information. But guys, this footage is weird as hell. In the video, Elisa enters the elevator and starts pressing multiple buttons. Then she steps out, looks down the hallway like she's checking if someone's following her, and quickly steps back in. She presses more buttons. The elevator doors stay open the entire time, which is already strange. Then things get real bizarre. She starts making these unusual hand movements, almost like she's talking to someone we can't see, or like she's playing some kind of game. She hides in the corner of the elevator, peeks out again, and at one point she just stands there in this really unnatural position with her hands kind of contorted. The whole thing lasts about 4 minutes, and it's just deeply unsettling to watch. Now here's where it gets dark. About 2 weeks after she went missing, guests at the Cecil Hotel started complaining that the water pressure was low and that the water coming out of the taps tasted weird. Maintenance went up to check the water tanks on the roof, and that's where they found Elisa's body. She was in one of the large water tanks, and the worst part is that guests had been drinking and bathing in that water for weeks. The circumstances of her death raised so many questions. How did she get up to the roof? That area was supposedly locked and had an alarm. How did she get into the water tank? The opening was pretty small and the tanks were heavy. Was she alone? The elevator footage makes it seem like she might have been running from someone or talking to someone. The case was eventually ruled as an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant factor. But a lot of people still have doubts about that conclusion. This case has caused countless theories, from the paranormal to murder conspiracies, and the footage remains one of the most analyzed pieces of CCTV in internet history. It's creepy, it's sad, and it's the perfect way to start this iceberg. James Bulger abduction. Next up, we have a case that's absolutely heartbreaking. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this one's really hard to talk about. The James Bulger case from 1993 is one of the most horrific crimes in UK history, and the CCTV footage is iconic for all the wrong reasons. On February 12, 1993, in Bootle, England, 2-year-old James Bulger was at a shopping centre with his mom. She was at a butcher shop, and in just a moment of distraction, James wandered off. What happened next was captured on the shopping centre's security cameras, and the image became one of the most famous and disturbing pieces of CCTV footage ever recorded. The grainy footage shows little James being led away by 2 older children. Multiple people saw them with James over the next few hours but didn't realize anything was wrong. They thought the older children were just taking their little brother home. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened to James because it's genuinely some of the worst stuff I've ever researched. And out of respect for James and his family, I'll just say that he was found 2 days later near a railway line. The 2 children were arrested and tried for the crime. The CCTV image of James being led away is burned into the public consciousness in the UK. It's fuzzy, it's grainy, but you can see this tiny child holding hands with someone leading him away, and he has no idea. That image changed everything about how the UK views child safety and surveillance. It led to massive changes in CCTV laws and child protection policies. This case is just awful, man. Like, there's no other way to put it. My heart genuinely goes out to James's family, especially his mother Denise, who has had to live with this for over 30 years. Station nightclub fire. Alright guys, closing out level 1, we have another absolutely tragic case. And I need to warn you right now that if you decide to watch the actual footage of this incident, it's probably the worst thing you'll ever see. I'm talking about the Station nightclub fire from 2003. On February 20th, 2003, in West Warwick, Rhode Island, a band called Great White was performing at a small club called The Station. The club had a capacity of about 404 people, but that night there were around 462 people packed inside. As part of their performance, the band's tour manager set off some pyrotechnics. You know, those indoor fireworks that bands sometimes use for dramatic effect. Here's the problem. The club had soundproofing foam on the walls and ceiling, and that foam was extremely flammable. Within seconds of the pyrotechnics going off, the foam caught fire, and this is where the CCTV footage comes in. A local news crew was there filming a story about nightclub safety, and I know the irony is insane, and they captured the entire disaster from start to finish. The footage shows the fire starting as just a small flame behind the band, and you can see people in the crowd kind of pointing at it, some of them thinking it's part of the show. But within less than a minute, thick black smoke starts filling the club. People start to panic and rush towards the exits, but here's where it becomes a nightmare. The club only had 4 exits, and the main entrance had become a bottleneck. People are pushing, shoving, trying to get out, and some people literally got trapped in the doorway. The entire building was swallowed by flames in less than 5.5 minutes. 100 people lost their lives that night, and over 200 were injured. The footage shows the rapid spread and people's desperate attempts to escape. It's genuinely one of the most harrowing pieces of footage in existence. What makes this even worse is that this disaster was completely preventable. The soundproofing foam wasn't fire-rated, the club was over capacity, there weren't enough exits, and pyrotechnics should have never been used in such a small space. After this tragedy, fire safety codes across the entire United States were changed. Exit requirements were strengthened, occupancy limits became more strictly enforced, and flammable materials in clubs were heavily regulated. Level 2. Lars Mittank Airport Disappearance. So welcome to Level 2, where things start getting more mysterious and honestly more unsettling. First up, we have Lars Mittank. This case has been called the most famous missing person on YouTube because the footage has over 16 million views. In July 2014, 28-year-old Lars Mittank from Germany was on vacation with his friends in Bulgaria. They were having a good time until their last night, when Lars got into a fight with some other tourists over football, like soccer, not American football. He got hit in the ear pretty badly and ended up with a ruptured eardrum. His friends had to fly home the next day because they had work, but Lars's doctor told him he couldn't fly with his injury, so he had to stay behind alone until his ear healed. Now this is where things get weird. Lars checked into a cheap hotel near Varna Airport and immediately started acting paranoid. He called his mother and said he was scared that 4 men were following him and trying to harm him. His mom tried to calm him down and told him to go straight to the airport, but hotel staff said Lars was getting more and more restless, pacing around, and seemed really anxious. The CCTV footage shows what happened next, and guys, it's honestly chilling. Lars is inside Varna Airport, and you can see him talking to a doctor in the medical area because he needed medical clearance to fly. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, Lars just started running. He literally drops his luggage, runs out of the building at full speed, jumps a fence, and disappears into a nearby forest. And that was the last time anyone ever saw Lars Mittank. He vanished completely. Search teams went through the area, his family put up rewards, and the footage went viral with millions of people trying to figure out what happened. Some theories say he had some kind of psychotic break, maybe triggered by the head injury or medication. Others think he was really being pursued by someone and was running for his life. There are even theories about cartels and organized crime. All we know is that something scared him really badly, and we'll probably never know what it was. Brian Schaefer bar vanishing. Next up, we have a case that literally makes no sense from a logical standpoint. Brian Schaefer was a 27-year-old medical student at Ohio State University, and in April 2006, he went out for a night of drinking with friends at a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloona in Columbus, Ohio. The Ugly Tuna Saloona was on the second floor of a building, and it only had one public entrance, a single doorway with an escalator, and that entrance was covered by security cameras. Brian was captured on CCTV entering the bar at around 9 p.m, and you can see him talking to two women before heading inside. His friends were with him, they were drinking, and Brian seemed to be having a normal night. But here's what doesn't make sense. Brian was never seen leaving. Like, never. The security cameras covered the only exit, and while you can see tons of people coming and going throughout the night, Brian Schaefer is not one of them. His friends say they lost track of him around 2 a.m, and they figured he just went home, but he didn't. Police reviewed all the CCTV footage from that night, and Brian is nowhere to be seen exiting the bar. Some people think he may have left through a construction area in the building. There was some renovation going on at the time, but wouldn't someone have seen him? His friends, other customers, workers, and why would he leave through a construction area anyway? The theories on this case range from accident to foul play to voluntary disappearance. Some people think Brian staged his own disappearance because he was dealing with stress. His mother had recently passed away and he was under pressure with medical school. Others think something happened to him inside the bar and his body was somehow concealed in the building. There are even theories about a secret exit that cameras didn't cover. The case remains open, and Brian's father searched for his son until his own death in 2008. It's just a bizarre mystery because the CCTV footage should have given us answers, but instead it just raised more questions. How do you enter a building with one exit and never come out? Level 3. Fresno Night Crawlers. We're starting off with something that's kind of different from the tragic cases we've covered so far. This one is straight up weird and possibly paranormal, or possibly a hoax, depending on who you ask. I'm talking about the Fresno Night Crawlers. In 2007, a resident of Fresno, California, checked his home security footage after hearing strange noises in his yard during the night. What he captured has become one of the most bizarre pieces of CCTV footage in cryptozoology. The footage shows these things walking through his front yard. They're white, they have two legs, but they don't look like anything that should exist. They look like pairs of pants just walking around with no upper body. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's literally what it looks like. These creatures have been called night crawlers, and the original Fresno footage kicked off a whole phenomenon. The video is super grainy. It's from a 2007 home security camera, so the quality is pretty rough, but you can clearly see these weird entities. They've got these long, skinny legs and what appears to be a very small head or upper body section, and they kind of just glide across the lawn. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 2011, another sighting was reported in Yosemite National Park, also in California. More footage showed up with similar creatures, and this time multiple people said they'd actually seen them in person. People have all kinds of theories, cryptids, interdimensional beings, whatever. But honestly, I'm pretty skeptical about this one. The footage is convenient in how grainy it is, you know? Just clear enough to see something weird, but not clear enough to definitively identify what it was. That's usually a red flag with this kind of stuff, but I will say the way these things move is pretty unsettling either way. Whether it's real, fake, or something in between, the Fresno night crawlers have become a part of internet folklore, and the original CCTV footage is still heavily debated today. The Erickson Twins M6 motorway. Next up, we have a case that's just absolutely insane. And guys, this one is genuinely disturbing. I'm talking about the Erickson Twins incident from 2008, which was captured on motorway cameras and even broadcast on a UK TV show called Motorway Cops. This case is just wild from start to finish. On May 17, 2008, Swedish twins Ursula and Sabina Eriksson were traveling by bus through the UK. At some point, they got off the bus on the M6 motorway, which is like a major highway, and started acting really strangely. Traffic cameras captured what happened next. and it's absolutely bizarre. The twins just ran into oncoming traffic, like multiple times. Ursula got hit by a car and was knocked unconscious. Then Sabina, even after seeing her sister get hit, ran into traffic again and got struck by a truck. The whole thing was captured on multiple cameras and by the motorway cops crew who happened to be filming in the area that day. Both twins survived, which is insane considering they literally got hit by vehicles on a highway. Police arrested them, obviously, because they were a danger to themselves and others. But here's where this case takes a very dark turn. Just hours after police let her go, Sabina tragically attacked someone who had offered her help, which resulted in that person's death. Then she jumped off a bridge onto a busy road below, survived again, and was eventually arrested. The case raised so many questions about what was happening with these twins. The theories range from shared psychosis, also called folie à deux, where two people basically share the same delusion or mental break, to drugs. But honestly, the behavior on that CCTV is so bizarre and unpredictable that nobody really knows what the hell was going on with them. The footage of them running into traffic is genuinely disturbing to watch. You can see them moving with purpose, like they're determined to get hit by cars. And the way they kept getting up and trying again is surreal. It's like watching people who have completely lost touch with reality, and the fact that it led to an innocent person's death makes it even more tragic. Sabina was eventually convicted of manslaughter and served time in prison. The case has been covered in documentaries and remains one of the strangest incidents ever captured on motorway surveillance footage. Deer Park CBS School Poltergeist. Alright, next up we have something that went viral in 2017 and divided the internet. The Deer Park CBS School Poltergeist footage from Cork, Ireland. Now guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm pretty skeptical about paranormal stuff in general, but this footage is creepy regardless of whether you believe in ghosts or not. The footage comes from the school's security cameras and shows a hallway at night. Suddenly, lockers start shaking violently and doors begin opening and closing on their own. You can see papers flying around, a wet floor sign gets thrown across the hallway, and it all happens in this really dramatic, almost choreographed way. The video was released right around Halloween 2017, which immediately makes people suspicious about its timing. When the footage went viral, people split into two camps pretty quickly. Some viewers were convinced it was genuine paranormal activity, pointing out how the lockers shake in a way that would be hard to fake, and how objects seem to move with force that would require someone to be there pulling strings. Others called it an obvious hoax, maybe done by students or staff as a Halloween prank, noting how conveniently the camera captures everything and how theatrical the movements are. What's interesting is that the school principal, Aaron Wolf, defended the footage as genuine and said they had no explanation for what had happened. He claimed the footage was real and that they were as surprised as anyone when they reviewed the security tapes. But then again, whether he was in on the joke or fooled as well is another question. Honestly, I lean towards hoax on this one. The timing of the release, the dramatic nature of the activity, and the way everything happens perfectly in frame for the camera. It all feels a bit too convenient. That said, it's a pretty well executed hoax if that's what it is. And the footage is definitely eerie to watch. Those lockers shaking and doors slamming creates this really ominous atmosphere, even if there's probably just someone off camera pulling wires. But hey, if you do believe in the paranormal, this is the kind of footage that's going to reinforce your beliefs. And if you're a skeptic like me, it's still fun to watch and try to figure out how they did it. Rebecca Corriam Disney Cruise. Finishing level 3, we have a case that's heartbreaking and mysterious. The disappearance of Rebecca Corriam from the Disney Wonder cruise ship in 2011. Rebecca was a 24-year-old British crew member working on the ship, and she vanished under very strange circumstances. The last known footage of Rebecca shows her on an internal CCTV camera on one of the crew-only decks. In the video, she's clearly distressed, making a phone call, and at one point you can see her gesturing like she's upset or crying. The footage is grainy and lower quality. It's from internal ship cameras, not the kind of high-def security system you'd see on land, but you can tell something's wrong. Shortly after this footage was captured, Rebecca disappeared. She was reported missing when she didn't show up for her shift, and despite an extensive search of the ship, she was never found. The official conclusion was that she had likely fallen overboard, possibly swept away by a rogue wave while on one of the crew decks. Her case was closed pretty quickly by Disney and Bahamian authorities, but her family has never accepted that explanation. There are a lot of questions surrounding Rebecca's disappearance. Some crew members reported that she seemed troubled in the days before she vanished, possibly dealing with relationship issues. Others claimed there were more sinister things happening on the ship. The distressed phone call captured on CCTV raises questions. Who was she talking to? What was she upset about? And how does someone just disappear from a cruise ship without anyone seeing anything? Disney has been heavily criticized for how they handled the investigation, with accusations that they were more interested in protecting their brand than finding out what really happened to Rebecca. The company settled with Rebecca's family out of court, but the terms were never disclosed. The CCTV footage of her final moments is haunting. You can see this young woman clearly in distress, and then she's just gone. No answers, no closure for her family, just questions and that one piece of footage showing something was very wrong. And with that, guys, we're done with level 3. We're officially past the halfway point of this iceberg, and things are going to get even darker from here. Level 4. Jameson family disappearance. Welcome to level 4, where we're getting into seriously disturbing territory. First up, the Jameson family disappearance from 2009. And let me tell you, the CCTV footage from this case is genuinely unsettling. Bobby Jameson, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison went missing in October 2009 after going to look at a property they were interested in buying in the San Bois Mountains of Oklahoma. Their pickup truck was found abandoned on a mountain road, and when police searched it, they found some really strange things. Over $32,000 in cash, the family dog, alive but hungry, and all of their belongings still in the truck, but no family. The mysterious part comes from security footage from their home, captured the day they left. The footage shows Bobby and Sherilyn loading up their truck, but their behavior is pretty weird. They're moving really stiffly, like they're in a trance, just walking back and forth between the house and the truck over and over. There's no communication between them, no expression on their faces, just this robotic, repetitive movement. It's like watching people who aren't really aware of what they're doing. The family remained missing for 4 years, until in 2013 when their skeletal remains were finally found just a few miles from where their truck was found. Hunters discovered their bodies, and honestly, the way they were positioned was very strange. It just raised more questions than it answered. Because of the decomposition, they couldn't determine the cause of death, but what investigators did notice was that the remains seemed to be arranged intentionally, almost like it was ceremonial or something. Theories about what happened to the Jameson family range from murder to cult activity to involvement into organized crime. Bobby had apparently been reading about spirits and was interested in the paranormal. Some people think the family had gotten involved with dangerous people. Others believe the strange behavior on the security footage indicates they were under the influence of something, either drugs or some kind of mental break. Whatever happened to the Jameson family on that mountain remains a mystery. Kendrick Johnson gym mat death. Next up, we have a case that's incredibly controversial and has divided people for years: the death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013. So this case involves a ton of CCTV footage from Lowndes High School in Georgia, and there's a lot to unpack here. On January 11th, 2013, 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found dead inside a rolled-up gym mat in his high school's gymnasium. So the official story was that it was an accident, like he'd climbed into this gym mat to grab a shoe, got stuck, and suffocated upside down. But Kendrick's family and a lot of other people believe that someone is responsible for this and that there has been a cover-up. Here's where the CCTV footage comes in. The school had 35 security cameras that captured 290 hours of footage from the day Kendrick disappeared. The footage shows Kendrick entering the gym, and it shows other students in the area. But there's something weird. There are gaps in the footage. Some cameras mysteriously stopped working or had their footage corrupted. There are time periods where there should have been footage, but isn't. Kendrick's family fought for years to get all the surveillance footage released, and when they finally did, they claimed that crucial moments were missing. They pointed to footage showing other students near the gym around the time Kendrick would have died, students who they believe were involved. Some footage also showed people moving in suspicious ways or accessing areas they shouldn't have been in. The case became more complicated when the family hired an independent pathologist who disagreed with the official findings. The family has maintained that crucial questions remain unanswered, and the truth may lie in the missing footage. The case has been investigated multiple times, with authorities maintaining it was an accident and the family insisting it was murder. The security footage has been analyzed frame by internet detectives, and everyone seems to see something different in it. Some people point to specific individuals caught on camera and claim they look suspicious. Others see nothing unusual. This case is tragic no matter what the truth is. A 17-year-old lost his life, and his family has spent over a decade fighting for answers and justice. The truth is probably in that missing footage, but honestly, we might never find it. Andrew Gosden disappearance. At the end of level 4, we have one of the UK's most mysterious missing person cases, the disappearance of Andrew Gosden in 2007. This case has haunted investigators and the public for like 15 years now. And the CCTV footage, while it's not visually disturbing or anything, is just heartbreaking. It's the last time anyone saw this boy before he vanished. On September 14th, 2007, 14-year-old Andrew Gosden left his home in Doncaster, England, and took a train to London's King's Cross station. CCTV footage captured him at his local train station purchasing a one-way ticket, and then later, cameras caught him exiting King's Cross station in London around 11:40 AM. He walked out of the station, and that's it. He was never seen again. Andrew withdrew £200 from his bank account before leaving, which was almost all his savings. He bought a one-way ticket specifically, not a return. He left his PSP and charger at home, which was unusual for him. But he didn't take his phone, which suggests maybe he didn't want to be tracked. Or maybe he wasn't thinking clearly. The question everyone asks is, why? Andrew was described as intelligent, responsible, and not the type to run away. He'd shown no signs of being unhappy at home or school. He had no known mental health issues. There was no evidence of grooming or online predators. He simply got up one day, skipped school, and traveled to London alone with apparently no plan to return. The CCTV footage has been analyzed countless times. Investigators traced his route through multiple cameras, hoping to see where he went or who he might have met up with. But after that final shot of him leaving King's Cross, there's nothing. In a city absolutely covered in CCTV cameras, how does a 14-year-old boy just disappear without being captured on a single additional camera? Over the years, there have been numerous sightings, but none have been confirmed. In 2021, 2 men were arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking related to Andrew's case, but they were released without charge. The investigation remains open, and Andrew's family continues to search for answers. And that's level 4 complete, guys. These cases are tragic, mysterious, and the CCTV footage in each one raises more questions than it answers. But we're not done yet. We still have 3 more levels to go, and it only gets darker from here. Level 5. Ye Old Man and Scythe Pub Ghost. Alright guys, level 5, and we're getting into some really obscure and bizarre territory now. First up is a piece of footage that paranormal enthusiasts love to discuss. The Ye Old Man and Scythe pub ghost footage from 2014. Ye Old Man and Scythe is a pub in Bolton, England, and it's one of the oldest pubs in Britain, dating back to the 13th century. With that much history, you're going to have some ghost stories, right? Well, in February 2014, specifically on Valentine's Day, the pub's CCTV cameras captured something that's either genuinely paranormal or a weird technical glitch. The footage shows the pub interior at 6:18 AM when no one was supposed to be there. The lights in the pub start flickering on and off in a really deliberate pattern. And then the camera captures what appears to be a clear figure standing in the doorway. It's this dark silhouette that looks humanoid, just standing there motionless. Then the recording stops. When staff reviewed the footage, they were pretty freaked out. The pub has a history of supposed paranormal activity. It's allegedly haunted by several spirits, including people from the English Civil War, because the pub was used as a gathering place during battles. People have reported seeing figures, hearing footsteps, and experiencing all the usual haunted pub stuff. Now guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm again a bit skeptical about this. The figure in the doorway could easily be a shadow, a trick of light, or even someone who was actually there and just didn't realize they were on camera. The lights flickering could be electrical issues in an old building, and the timing of it stopping at exactly 6:18 feels a bit too convenient. But what makes this footage interesting is how good the quality is compared to most ghost footage. You can actually see what people are claiming is paranormal. It's not just an orb or a blur. There's a definite human-shaped shadow in that doorway. Whether it's actually a ghost or just a very specific arrangement of shadows and poor lighting in a 13th century building is up to you. The footage went viral in paranormal communities and remains one of the most discussed pieces of pub CCTV footage in the UK. The pub itself leaned into the attention because, hey, if people think your pub is haunted, then that's good for business. But whether you believe in ghosts or not, watching that figure standing in the doorway while the lights flicker is definitely unsettling. The Bellendur Lake Foam Monster. Next up, we have something completely different. An environmental disaster that was captured on security cameras and news footage in 2017. I'm talking about the Bellendur Lake Foam incident in Bangalore, India. And honestly, this is like something out of a horror movie. So Bellendur Lake is one of the largest lakes in Bangalore, but it's also one of the most polluted parts of water in India because of untreated sewage and industrial waste being dumped into it. In May 2017, security cameras and news crews captured something absolutely surreal. Toxic foam from the lake literally flooding the surrounding roads and neighborhoods. The footage shows these massive waves of white foam, several feet high, just rolling through the streets like some kind of living entity. It looks like something from a disaster film, except it's real. Cars are driving through walls of toxic foam. People are being hit by it, and it's covering everything in its path. The foam was so thick that it buried motorcycles, pushed into homes, and created this nightmarish scene where a lake basically vomited poisonous bubbles all over a city. What caused this? The combination of pollutants in the lake, detergents, chemicals, sewage, along with specific weather conditions created this foaming effect. When the water was agitated either by wind or by the lake's natural movement, it would generate these massive amounts of foam. And because of how toxic the lake had become, the foam itself was dangerous, full of heavy metals and carcinogenic compounds. The security footage of this happening is honestly kind of horrifying. This is what happens when we completely destroy our environment. The lake had become so polluted that it literally started producing toxic foam monsters that invaded the city. It's environmental horror, and the footage serves as this reminder of how badly we're messing up our planet. The incident did lead to increased attention on cleaning up Bellendur Lake, but the problem still exists. Even now, the lake continues to produce foam, and it's still one of the most polluted parts of water in India. Every time I see that footage of the foam waves rolling through the streets, it just feels dystopian, like we're living in some kind of toxic future that we've created ourselves. Kaneka Jenkins freezer incident. Alright, so this case is filled with so many unanswered questions. I'm talking about the death of Kaneka Jenkins in 2017. The CCTV footage from this case has been analyzed frame by thousands of people trying to figure out what really happened. On September 9th, 2017, 19-year-old Kaneka Jenkins went to a party at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois with some friends. It was supposed to be a normal night out, but around 1 a.m., Kaneka's friends realized they couldn't find her. They searched the hotel, called her phone, and eventually her mother was contacted. By 4 a.m., her mother, Teresa Martin, arrived at the hotel demanding to see security footage and wanting to search for her daughter. The hotel's security cameras captured Kaneka's movements through the hallways. And guys, this footage is pretty weird to watch. You can see her stumbling through corridors, looking disoriented and confused. She's swaying, touching the walls for balance, and at one point, she nearly falls over. She wanders through different areas of the hotel, going down to lower levels where guests aren't supposed to be. In one particular clip, she's seen rounding a corner near the kitchen area, and then that's the last clear footage of her. Nearly 24 hours after she went missing, Kaneka's body was found in a walk-in freezer in an unused kitchen area of the hotel. She was found in a standing position, and the temperature in that freezer was well below freezing. The official story was that it was an accident, hypothermia from being trapped in the freezer while intoxicated. Toxicology reports showed she had alcohol and topiramate in her system, a medical that can increase the effects of alcohol. Here's where things get controversial. Kaneka's family and many others believe there's more to her story. Her mother pointed out that those walk-in freezers have emergency releases on the inside. How did Kaneka not use it? Why was she in that area of the hotel at all? The kitchen was supposed to be locked and off limits to guests, and some people who analyzed the security footage claim they see other figures in the hallways around the same time, suggesting Kaneka might not have been alone. The case sparked massive discussion online, with people creating timeline videos, analyzing every frame of the security footage, and coming up with various theories about what happened. Some believe she was lured down there, others think friends at the party know more than they're saying, and some accept the official explanation that she was heavily intoxicated and tragically wandered into the wrong place at the wrong time. In my opinion, she's clearly not okay in the clips. The footage raises so many questions about hotel security, about why no staff noticed an intoxicated teenager wandering into restricted areas, about why it took so long to find her. Kaneka's mother has continued to fight for answers and has filed lawsuits against the hotel. The case remains controversial, with people divided on whether it was a tragic accident or something more sinister. Peter Bergman. So this is one of the strangest and best documented mysteries in CCTV history, the case of Peter Bergman, also known as the Mystery Man of Sligo. In June 2009, a man checked into a hotel in Sligo, Ireland, using the name Peter Bergman. Over the next few days, multiple security cameras throughout the town captured his movements as he went about what appeared to be a very specific routine. He was seen at the beach multiple times, going to various shops, and disposing of items in different garbage bins around town. Then, on June 16th, his body was found on Ross's Point Beach. He had drowned. What makes this case so bizarre is that literally everything about Peter Bergman was false. The name was fake, the address he gave was fake, and despite extensive investigation, no one has ever been able to identify who this man really was. He had removed all identifying labels from his clothing, destroyed any possible identification, and seemed to have planned every detail of his disappearance. The CCTV footage shows him systematically disposing of items in different locations around Sligo, making sure to spread them out so nothing could be easily traced back to him. He bought a one-way ticket to Sligo, paid for everything in cash, and left absolutely no trail of who he really was. It's like he wanted to die as a complete unknown, and he succeeded. Investigators believe he knew he was dying, possibly from an illness, and chose Sligo as his final destination, but he wanted to stay anonymous. The level of planning was extraordinary. He thought of everything: what to wear, how to dispose of evidence, how to remain unidentified. The CCTV footage documents this plan being executed step by step. Despite international appeals and extensive investigation, including reconstruction of his face and DNA analysis, Peter Bergman remains unidentified. Level 6. Missy Beva's Church Incident. Welcome to Level 6, and we're getting into some really obscure and bizarre territory now. And we're starting off with one of the most frustrating unsolved cases captured on CCTV, the murder of Missy Bevers in 2016. This case has everything you'd think would lead to a quick arrest, like clear footage of the suspect, and yet 8 years later it remains unsolved. On April 18th, 2016 at around 5 a.m, 45-year-old Terry, or also known as Missy Bevers, arrived at Creekside Church of Christ in Midlothian, Texas. She was a fitness instructor preparing to teach an early morning Camp Gladiator class. The church's security cameras captured what happened before she arrived. Starting at around 3:50 a.m, more than an hour before Missy arrived, the cameras show a person walking through the church hallways. This person is dressed head to toe in what appears to be a SWAT or police tactical gear, full body armor, a helmet, gloves, the works. The person is carrying what looks like a hammer or pry tool and just casually walks through the church, breaking things, opening doors, and seeming to search for someone or something. The suspect wanders around the church for over 20 minutes on camera, just destroying property, looking into rooms, and waiting. Then Missy arrives. The cameras don't capture the actual attack. It happened in a room without cameras. But when class participants started arriving shortly after, they found Missy's body. She had been attacked with what investigators believe was the hammer the suspect was carrying. Here's what's so frustrating about this case. We have clear footage of the suspect. We can see their build and clothing. The tactical gear they're wearing would have been purchased somewhere. Someone should recognize their unusual walk. And yet, despite thousands of tips and extensive investigation, police have never made an arrest. The Bijlmermeer disaster aftermath. Closing out Level 6, we have footage from one of the most tragic aviation disasters in European history, the Bijlmermeer disaster of 1992. And guys, this one is heavy, so just a warning. On October 4th, 1992, Al Flight 1862, a Boeing 747 cargo aircraft, was flying from Amsterdam to Tel Aviv. Shortly after takeoff, the aircraft experienced a catastrophic failure when 2 of its engines separated from the wing. The pilots tried to return to Amsterdam's Schiphol airport, but they couldn't maintain control. The aircraft crashed into the Bijlmermeer neighborhood of Amsterdam, specifically hitting 2 apartment buildings. Security cameras from the area captured the aftermath of the crash, the destroyed buildings, the chaos, the emergency response. All 4 crew members and 39 people on the ground lost their lives on that day. The disaster led to major changes in aviation safety regulations, particularly regarding how cargo aircraft are maintained and how engine failures are handled. But it also created a lot of controversy over the years, with questions about what the cargo plane was carrying. There were allegations it was transporting hazardous materials, and concerns about the government's handling of the aftermath. And that's level 6, guys. Now we're heading to the very bottom of this iceberg for our final level. Level 7. The Lost Cosmonaut Recordings. Alright guys, we've made it to the bottom of the iceberg, level 7. And for this final entry, we're talking about something that's part conspiracy theory, part documented history, and all kinds of disturbing. This is the story of the lost cosmonaut recordings and the related footage allegedly from Soviet space facilities in the 1960s. So here's the background. During the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, there were rumors that the Soviets had lost cosmonauts in space before Yuri Gagarin's famous successful flight in 1961. The theory suggests that there were failed missions kept secret by the Soviet government, and that cosmonauts died in orbit, their bodies lost to space, with all records destroyed or classified. The most famous piece of evidence for this theory comes from 2 Italian brothers, Achille and Giovanni Battista Judica Cordiglia, who set up a listening station in Italy to intercept Soviet space communications. They claimed to have recorded several transmissions from cosmonauts in distress, including one where a woman's voice is heard saying, "I'm hot, I can see a flame, I'm going to crash," before the transmission cuts out. Another recording allegedly captures a cosmonaut's heartbeat slowing down and stopping as they ran out of air. Now, here's where the CCTV element comes in. As Soviet archives have been partially declassified over the years, some footage from space program facilities has shown up. There are grainy security camera recordings from launch sites, training facilities, and mission control centers that conspiracy theorists claim to show evidence of the covered-up missions. Some of this footage supposedly shows reactions to disasters that weren't officially reported, or preparations for missions that officially never happened. But the problem with all of this is separating fact from fiction. We know for certain that the Soviet space program had its share of disasters. Vladimir Komarov died during the Soyuz 1 mission in 1967 when his parachute failed, and that was official. The Soyuz 11 cosmonauts lost their lives during re-entry in 1971. There were launch pad explosions and training accidents, so the Soviets definitely lost people in their space program. But the lost cosmonaut theory goes further, suggesting there were secret missions where people lost their lives and were erased from history entirely. The audio recordings from the Judica Cordiglia brothers have been debated for decades. Some experts think they're genuine Soviet transmissions, others say they're elaborate hoaxes. And then there are the people who think they might be real but misunderstood, like maybe they were just picking up test transmissions or training exercises, not actual cosmonauts in space. As for the CCTV and facility footage, much of it is impossible to verify. Some clips that have circulated online showing classified Soviet space disasters have been proven to be misattributed footage from known incidents or even faked content. But there are also legitimate archival materials that show how secretive and dangerous the early space program was, and it's not unreasonable to think some failures were covered up. Whether the lost cosmonauts really existed, or whether it's all Cold War mythology, the concept itself is horrifying. The idea that people could die alone in space, it all being covered up and their names forgotten, with only fragments of audio and grainy facility footage as evidence they ever existed. So there you have it, guys. We've gone from the surface level cases that everyone knows about, all the way down to conspiracy theories and mysteries that may never be solved. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. This was a heavy one, I know. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and let me know in the comments which case is the creepiest, or if there's any CCTV footage I missed that should have been on this iceberg. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and remember, the cameras are always watching.